everybody, welcome to the MaffmanJones Movie Show. I'm your host, John Maffio, and if you didn't watch last week's video, I did a little giveaway for the Avengers Endgame digital copy, and I got a couple really awesome comments. So everybody who commented, I wrote your name, I put it in my little rebel hat, and I'm going to shake it up a little bit, and I'm just going to pick one, just blindly, randomly, and whoever wins, I'm going to notify you somehow. I guess I'll send you a message on YouTube, and then you got your copy. So, thank you for commenting. If I ever get more digital copies, I'll do this more in the future, because that was fun. So, without further ado, I really got this. Look. Got it. Don't want to waste too much time circle jerking with this. Hey, buddy. Chase Lee. You got the digital copy of Avengers Endgame. Congratulations, I'll send you a message on Twitter or Facebook somewhere soon, and I'll give you that code, because I got it right here. And to continue on with today's show, not a lot of news in the past week, so I am going to do something that was suggested by another friend of mine, Ryan St. Hilaire, to do some of my favorite movies of the year so far, and some of my most anticipated movies. I can't say the word anticipated while it's in a run-on sentence. It just, it's one of those weird speech things where I don't know if it's an impediment or I just can't get it out. I mean, if there was any news that came out this week, there was a couple things that came out, but the only one that really was noteworthy to me, and I don't think it's going to change the landscape of film, but Amblin, if you know film, you know Amblin has done a lot of Spielberg movies, done a lot of good family movies. They are making an interactive haunted house movie with director Alexandre Aja, who directed Crawl, The Hills Have Eyes, the remake, and he's done a lot of great horror pieces. And he's also collaborating with Mike Flanagan, who had the idea for this concept. Apparently, people are going to be in the theater with their phones, and they're going to have to vote. Kind of like what you did for Bandersnatch, or like those Netflix shows where you're in a situation with these characters, and you have 15 seconds or less to choose what this characters are going to do, and it decides whether or not your movie's over. And I don't think that's gonna happen. I think they're gonna, no matter what happens, you're gonna have a 90 minute to 2 hour experience with this. But I think it's interesting that they're gonna have people purposely, intentionally using their cell phones or whatever, tablets, whatever have you, to create this movie. The people they have on board for this, if it really works, it's gonna be a really great way to get people into the theater, which is what we need. We need more communal experiences like that. Avengers Endgame. It's a big blockbuster movie, but it was worth going to the movie theaters for, and a lot of movies are worth going to theaters for. And this is a cool, fun, innovative way to get people to go to the theaters instead of watching something on Netflix or whatever streaming service they got, all that jazz. Because, for me, you got horror, you got the movie theater, and you have the experience of being with other people experiencing something all at once, which is, you can't get that anywhere else. So, sign me up, potentially. So we'll see about that. So from there, let's move into the movies that I've seen. I have seen a good portion of movies, though. I've seen my fair share of indies and blockbusters, and I think I have together a nice little list of movies. Also, this is not in chronological order either. This is just I assembled a list of these movies I've seen over the year that I really liked, and I have, really quick, 2 shout-outs to a couple movies I saw that I don't think are necessarily good, but they're worth watching, whether it's by yourself, alone, but with other people too. I think these are movies you need to watch because of how ridiculous in nature they are. One is Serenity. It's a movie that stars Matthew McConaughey and Anne Hathaway. Not going to say anything about it. It's not a spoiler to say in this case that there's a crazy twist that enhances your experience watching the movie, because this movie is a hoot. It's a hoot. And you might not like it, but you're definitely going to walk away thinking, that was wild. Then you have The Beach Bum starring Matthew McConaughey. Again, I just realized, in real time recording this, that both these movies star Matthew McConaughey. So he's having an interesting year, post Matthew McConaughey renaissance. Because I think that whole Peach Fuzz hype is over now. So he's just doing movies again. But The Beach Bum is basically just a big excuse for Mr. McConaughey to walk around drunk, just enjoying life, smoking weed, being in tropical paradise with a bunch of random actors. Zac Efron shows up for 5 minutes, and he has like this whole little ordeal with McConaughey's character. Snoop Dogg's in this, and he's a supplier of weed, but he has like a weed Christmas tree that he keeps in a specific room in his giant home. And he's having like a whole thing with Isla Fish's character, who is the romantic love interest of McConaughey, and there's a lot of history and things happen, but there's no consequence at all. But for some reason, this movie being inconsequential makes it that much more fun to watch, and it's so stupid. So having said that, let's move on to movies I actually did like this year so far. Number 1 is Midsommar. I can't stop thinking about this movie. It's disturbing, it's strange, it's methodical, and it's trippy, but it's Ari Aster who made Hereditary, which was a very slow burn of a horror movie. This is similar, but it's a lot more colorful, a lot more energetic, but it's got a lot more, it kind of continues the trend of disturbing imagery that sticks in your head for a long time, because there's a couple of moments in this movie that I can't stop thinking about. Also, Avengers Endgame. It's just, I think it's going to be a lot of people's top 10s this year, because it was the end of a 10-11 year era of Phase 1, Phase 2, and Phase 3 Marvel movies, and they somehow made it work this entire time. Kevin Feige's the most incredible producer, and say what you want about these movies, even if you don't like them, but the fact that they got this done, that they accomplished this marathon of crazy big blockbuster movies and got to this point and made a conclusion that's satisfying like this was, that's a feat. And I think it deserves recognition. A lot of recognition. I hope it gets attention at the Oscars next year. We'll have to see. But I have it on Blu-ray. I haven't watched it yet, because I know when I do, I'm gonna cry my eyes out. And that's it. If you haven't seen this, I don't know. It's like if you're in, you're in. If you're out, you're out. I've been trying to get my parents to watch these movies, or the more important ones that relate to Endgame, for the past few months, and it hasn't been working. I got them to watch Guardians of the Galaxy, but I really want to watch and get to the point of watching Endgame with my parents, because I want to see how they react to this 3-hour insanity. Next is Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. I've seen this movie twice and a half. I went to see another movie called The Farewell, which is also another movie I'll mention in a little bit, but I snuck into this movie afterwards, after I movie hopped after Farewell, and I meant to stay there for the first scene, because I missed part of the first scene the second time I saw this movie with a few friends who haven't seen it before at that time. I ended up watching like half the movie. I can't get enough of this. It's a whole lot of nothing. There's not really a building momentum, but it's just kind of just this time capsule of the 1960s in Hollywood. I revel in Tarantino movies, and this is no different. I really enjoyed Hateful Eight and Django Unchained, but this is my movie from Quentin that I've been waiting for a long time, because I love filmmaking, and this movie articulates how it is to be in the industry and how to live in that world back then in such a way that it's just enchanting. In a really strange, messed up way, it's enchanting. Next, we have Crawl. It's a simple horror movie with alligators in a crawl space in the middle of a crazy hurricane, and I think its simplicity in this case is bliss. It's produced by Sam Raimi, who I wish was doing more stuff, and it really shows. Him and Mr. Aja, who I just mentioned before, making the interactive horror movie. This movie is crazy awesome. You're a thrill seeker? Watch Crawl. Also, John Wick Chapter 3, it's the third chapter. They somehow top themselves in a numerous amount of ways with their sequences of action, but I think this movie is actually really paced awesomely in comparison to the previous chapter, which I think had a little bit of a sluggish pace in comparison to this movie. But I think this movie is just incredibly fun to watch from beginning to end. A lot of oohs, ahs. Keanu Reeves just incredible at his age and what he's doing here. And I think it's a lot of fun. I had a great time watching this movie, and I can't wait to watch it again. Next is Happy Death Day to You, which is a sequel I didn't expect to like as much as I did. It's not so much of a horror movie, more like a time travel story. But you have Jessica Roth, the main star, who is just incredibly charming and charismatic. Yeah, it's a low-budget Blumhouse movie that actually does a lot with its budget and actually has some emotional beats that really work. And I just think it's cool that Blumhouse has taken risks on projects like this, even though I don't know if it really panned out at the box office this time. but I really had a good time with it. Next is Rocket Man. It's the story of Elton John. It's a musical, but it's the kind of musical that I really love, where some people don't like this, but I do when it's done right, when it's executed right, when they just break out into dance. And this is happening with Elton John's life, with Elton John songs. And there's a lot of classic, iconic Elton John songs. And just hearing some of them makes me emotional anyway, so maybe I'm a little biased here. But the way to utilize songs like Saturday, Tiny Dancer, Rocket Man, to name a few, Your Song, to name a few, it all really hit me the right way. And I think this is beautifully told, beautifully written. Next is The Dead Don't Die. It's an ensemble cast, but it's not the kind of zombie movie you may expect. If you're expecting something that's more fast-paced, like a Zack Snyder's Dawn of the Dead, you're not going to get that here. It's slow-paced. There's a lot of weird meta jokes that are involved here. A lot of random quotes, a lot of random moments that don't really come together all that greatly for a movie, but it was an interesting watch for me, and it's another movie that kind of just revolves in my head every so often, like, yeah, you saw that movie. So I haven't forgotten about it, which says something about it. This is a strange movie. People were hyped about it because it was a zombie movie and it had Adam Driver and Bill Murray and all these people in it. But ultimately, it's not what you think it's going to be. You may come away from it thinking, what the hell was that? That was a waste of my time. Or you might come away with it thinking, that was something that I would like to revisit. Adam Driver is just engrossing right now. And the only reason why I feel like I would really come back to this is to watch his performance again, because he's just so genius at comedic timing and everything in this. But otherwise, it's just a really weird movie that happens to involve a zombie apocalypse in this small town. Next is High Life. It stars Robert Pattinson, the next Batman, next Bruce Wayne. This movie had me in feeling such a type of way. Just a really isolated feeling, a lot of loneliness, despair, sadness. I loved it, and I don't know if I would watch this ever again, but again, this is a great piece to go back to for Robert Pattinson, because he's such a great actor, and you really learn that from movies like this, that he just really knows how to connect on a vulnerable, emotional level. And I don't want to give away parts of the story at all, but there's a really nice surrounding cast. Andre 3000 is in this movie. There's a few other people that I'm forgetting the names as I speak right now, but it's in space. It involves a small group of people. There's no aliens, but it's just people alone with each other. Under the Silver Lake, it stars Andrew Garfield, directed by the guy who made It Follows. It's kind of a nice little companion piece to Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, because it's a movie that's made in modern times, made for modern times, but it has the same feel as a noir mystery that you would see in like the 60s or the 50s. And you got Andrew Garfield trying to solve this mystery, and I don't think the answers are going to be satisfying for a whole lot of people, but I really enjoyed the journey. A big part for me when I make these lists are movies that I think about a lot and movies that I would like to watch again. And Dead Don't Die, I'm not sure about that, but there are still elements there that I would like to see again. And this movie, it's a long movie. It's like almost 3 hours if I remember right. But for the performances, for the style, for all that little sweet stuff, I'm a big fan of this. And that's really it. I feel like there should be a lot more, but this year's been really weird. There was a few indies there that I really liked, and a couple blockbusters I really loved. But I feel like I should like more, but I haven't also seen everything either. But yeah, also shout out to The Farewell. That was the last movie I saw. And given what my family's gone through, both sides of my family have gone through in the past half year or so, that movie had me on emotional levels that I can't even comprehend. I never really got teary-eyed, but it was just, I was at a level the entire way through. You're thinking it's going to be one of those kinds of movies that's just going to be really dour and just going to put you in a state of mind that you don't want to be in afterwards. But it turns out you walk out of this movie like with a smile on your face. And it's kind of slow, but it's a really, really sweet movie about family. And I think everybody should watch that. And I think it's a nice way to cap off movies I've seen this year that I really liked. Now I'll quickly just go through movies I'm looking forward to watching for the rest of the year. Parasite, directed by the guy who made Okja, Snowpiercer. I keep hearing a lot of buzz about this, so I'm looking forward to watching it as soon as possible. And I haven't watched any trailers. Apparently, it's best to stay away from footage for this, so that's all I'm going to say about that. It Chapter 2. I loved the first chapter of it from 2 years ago. I love the cast. I love Andy Muschietti. I loved everything about it. Bill Skarsgård. This movie looks scary as shit, and I'm all for it. Make it as long as possible. Make it almost 3 hours. I'll sit there for 3 hours. I just want all that sweet horror goodness. I want to eat it all up like a giant cheeseburger. A cheeseburger. Rise of Skywalker. It's Star Wars. It's the end of the Skywalker saga, apparently. But I love The Last Jedi. I fall in the place in the group. I guess I'm in the minority that would put Last Jedi in their top 4. And I'm looking forward to seeing how JJ takes what happened in that movie and moving forward, because it was more conclusive than anything. So basically, the story ideas are just limitless. They can do whatever they want. And we got Sidious back in some way, shape, or form. There's a lot going on there. So I'm looking forward to seeing how they wrap this entire series up in a tight little bow, I guess. We'll see what happens. Irishman, Scorsese. That's all you gotta say. It's Martin Scorsese directing a mobster movie. And it's got Al Pacino, Joe Pesci, and Robert De Niro starring. That's your pitch. That's it. Uncut Gems, from the directors, the Safdie brothers, who directed Good Time, another Robert Pattinson movie that was really good. And it stars Adam Sandler. It might be incredible. We'll have to see. We had no footage, had nothing to base this off, but conceptually, this is going to rock. Lucy in the Sky, it stars Natalie Portman. It's a space movie, but it's more of a cerebral space movie. It looks like the trials and tribulations of a woman after coming back from being in outer space, how it affects her home life and such like that. And, I mean, that sounds like a very cliched kind of movie, because we get a lot of those these days. A lot of those, like, First Man was really well done by Damien Chazelle. But I think, based off the trailer, if the trailer is emulating the tone of the actual full product movie, then I'm going to really like it. Lighthouse, another Robert Pattinson movie with Willem Dafoe. Stylistically speaking, I'm all for this. It looks ridiculously weird, and I love that. Doctor Sleep, the sequel to The Shining, directed by Mike Flanagan, coming out in theaters with Ewan McGregor. Yes, please. They're going back to the Overlook Hotel. Yes, please. It's a sequel to The Shining book and The Shining movie from 1980. Yes, please. I am so ready to watch this movie. I'm going to eat this shit up. Cats. I'm not looking forward to the movie itself. I'm looking forward to the conversation it's going to conjure. I'm looking forward to the social media discourse. I'm looking forward to just the reactions. This is going to be a movie that people are going to watch ironically. And people who watch this and love it unironically, if it's actually a good movie, awesome. But if it turns out to be just a horrible disaster, it's going to be so much fun to be a part of that chaos. That's how I feel about it. Last Christmas. So this trailer came out recently, and it stars Emilia Clarke and Henry Golding, and it's got George Michael music. I've had George Michael's Last Christmas in my head for the past 3 days because of this stupid trailer. And I say stupid because that song is so catchy. It's August, and I'm singing George Michael's Last Christmas. I gave you my heart, but the very next day, you gave it away. And I hope it's in your head now, so we all have the same curse. You gotta live with it now. You're welcome. But yeah, there's a lot of weird theories going around about this movie now involving Henry Golding's character, which makes me more interested in seeing this. And it potentially has classic material written all over this. Paul Feig's directing it. He did a great job with Simple Favor. And we haven't had a great Christmas movie in a while. Like a nice live-action Christmas movie. And if this can deliver that, I'm all for it. I'll eat it up. Got a couple more. Knives Out, directed by Rian Johnson. It's the mystery thriller whodunit. It's like Clue for the modern age. It's got a great cast. And again, Rian Johnson makes great movies. Got Chris Evans in it. I'm all for it. And we'll end this with 1917, which is going to be a World War I horror movie directed by... World War I horror movie? World War I movie directed by Sam Mendes. I keep thinking about horror, so I keep going back to that, so omit that. Redact. But yeah, this looks like Dunkirk, similarly in a way, but I don't think that's a bad thing. Dunkirk was a great movie. So if this is anything like Dunkirk, I'm gonna love it. And that's it for today's video. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed everything about it. The one story that I talked about today, the raffle of the Avengers digital copy. Sorry if you missed out on that, but I'll be trying to do more in the future, so people have more opportunities to win movies they can watch on their computer or their desktop or whatever suits you best. And I want to know from you guys. Write down in the comments below, what are some of your favorite movies of the year so far? Any that I didn't mention that you want to mention? And what are movies you're looking forward to for the rest of the year? Like an It Chapter 2 or Star Wars or Cats. Are you looking forward to Cats like I am? If you enjoyed, please like, subscribe if you want. Comment, like I mentioned before, about movies that you're looking forward to, movies that you've seen this year that you really liked. And I'll see you guys next time. I'm John Maffio, a.k.a. Mothman Jones. This is the Mothman Jones Movie Show. Signing off. Have a great week. Love y'all. And hugs. XXO. Gossip Girl.